Welcome back to the channel, guys. So the PlayStation Classic, this little fella right here, has failed us really bad. So many people have been upset and disappointed with the launch of the system. Even before it launched, with all the news that came out, so many people were just like, nope, canceling my pre-order, I'm not touching this thing. And it looks like that's just not in the United States and Europe, it's also in Japan. According to PlayStationLifestyle.net, they have some numbers that they're talking about where the PlayStation Classic, which you would think would have launched very strongly in Japan, it's a Japanese console. Japanese, their version had better games on it, in my opinion, but it's doing fairly weak compared to its competitors. So they're stating here that the PlayStation Classic sold 120,000 units in the first week of being available. Now, a lot of times when you look at sales numbers in Japan, they're always significantly smaller than they would be in the US or Europe, just because it's a smaller country. But they still, buy a lot of these things. And in comparison, like they're stating here, the Super Nintendo Classic, just in a handful of days, sold over 3 times that amount when it was launched. Is the nostalgia greater for the Super Nintendo Classic Edition? Did people prefer that over the PlayStation? I don't think that's necessarily what the issue is, because the PlayStation just brought gaming to a whole new level. I'm not denying that. I love the PlayStation. I also love the Super Nintendo and the NES. But when the PlayStation came out, there was just so many awesome games for it. If you're a role-playing game fan, if you were in Japan or if you were in the US and Europe, there was just so many awesome games. Squaresoft dominated, in my opinion. And Japan, they got some decent games on their version of this system, but it's just the effort that Sony put into this damn thing that has disappointed so many people, and they are just not flying off the shelves. They're just not going anywhere. My dumbass, I bought a few of them for purposes of giveaways and whatnot, and I don't even think people want them. I don't even think I could just hand them to people randomly. I mean, you probably could. Come on, there's still, some value in it. But it's just nuts because these things have not been out for very long. But if you were to have gone onto Amazon late last night or even early this morning, they're sold out right now, direct from Amazon. But these mofos were selling the system for $75. That's a nice little cut. But they were also trying to entice you and give you a $25 Amazon gift card on top of that. Oh my God, it's almost like getting to the point where they're going to be free. That's insane for so close to the holidays. Such short amount of time that this thing has been out. There's places that just can't get rid of them. Target here, they don't even have the price listed. The reason being is because I think, there's typically like certain things you cannot advertise below a certain price point without it being like in your cart. I don't know if that's the whole point, but I've heard of that before. But if you put this into your cart, the damn thing's only $75 as well. No gift card, I don't think, but yeah, a lot of these places, man, they're not being able to get rid of these things, and the prices are dropping. There's images out there that people have been showing with various stores showing pallets of these things just stacked up. I haven't been out and about too much lately. I've only been to a couple places where they still had PlayStation Classics. Around me, they weren't stacked up in the same way other people have been showing. But, I have seen at like a Best Buy behind the customer service counter, there's a stack of them, maybe like 20 of them or something like that. And that's just nuts because when the NES Super Nintendo Classic came out, those things were beastly hard to find. You just could not find them unless you went out there punching babies, arm wrestling mothers, and whoever else. I had some crazy stories with the NES Classic. A little less with the Super Nintendo Classic, but there was just a lot of crazy people out there trying to scalp these things. People who are trying to scalp these things right now are freaking morons because you could just walk down the street and find one. It's just that nuts. But I think for those of us who have jumped on it and got one or 2 or 3, whatever the hell you're into, like my crazy ass, there's a little bit of hope. But it's unfortunate because this is not going to be for everybody. Those people who get this under the Christmas tree and boot this up, they may enjoy it. I'm going to be honest with you. I love Classic Edition consoles. I love these mini systems. I do have all these systems already. I have legit systems and tons of games for them. But there's just something charming and interesting and unique with these mini consoles. And yes, I have been enjoying this slightly. More so on the hacking end of it, just messing with it, seeing what we can do. There is a lot of stuff going on, changing the whole user interface, loading up RetroArch, different graphics, different ways of doing things, different ways of booting games. There's so much going on in the hacking scene with this thing to make it worthwhile for some of us. Me, I'm the kind of person, I like to tinker, I like to mess around with these things and see what we can do, but ultimately in the end, I usually, even my Super Nintendo Classic, I have 2 Super Nintendos, 2 NES Classics, one hacked on each end, and then one stock on both sides. Ultimately, I really want to keep my system stock. I want it to be just so amazing what the company offered us from the get-go that you don't want to touch it. You don't want to mess with it. You don't want to add things. You don't want to have to make the thing right. And with the Super Nintendo and NES Classic, like I said, I have, one of each hacked and then one of each not. I love having them not hacked because I think they're solid-ass systems the way they stand. But being able to hack them just kind of brought them to a whole new level, different, things you can do. But it wasn't something to improve the product. It wasn't something to fix the wrongs of Nintendo because I feel like they put out something really good. With Sony, with this thing, we have to hack this thing to get our money's worth out of it. Whereas those other systems, I don't think we had to. Now, there's a lot of mini systems out there. Neo Geo, which it's a hugely flawed system that a lot of people don't like for a few reasons. One, the output quality on an HD TV is shit. 2, clicky sticks are hard to make for whatever damn reason. It's because this is not the SNK that we know from before. But those controllers, yes, they do not feel good. I've gotten accustomed to them a little bit, and I still have fun with that system a little bit. I like it. It's neat. It could use some improvements, but overall, the biggest glaring issue is the controller with that thing, in my eyes. The output, yeah, that's bad, but I could probably deal with having a controller plugged to it and playing it on the little screen because it doesn't look too bad. But ultimately, yes, it should have looked good on your TV. These PlayStation Classics, man, having those PAL version games on there, Lackluster library of games, there's a handful of them on there. Jumping Flash, for one, I've been playing quite a bit of it, and I did revert to playing it on the PlayStation Classic, and I am really digging that game. A lot of people were like, meh, it is what it is. It's kind of an early game, not a big deal. A lot of the games on this are very early launch games or within the first few years. And there's some solid-ass games, but it's just the bare-bones effort Sony put into this that we have to fix. If you really want to enjoy this thing, it's unfortunate. We're going to have to fix it. They're going to continue lowering price out there. I think the sweet spot for these things may be like $50, which is, in reality, they should have launched at that. $100 seems like, to me, a lot of money. Despite, the Super Nintendo Classic Edition was $80, and it had some unique things going on for it, though. The first appearance of an official release of Star Fox 2, and in certain regions like Europe and whatnot, you had official releases of games that were never released out there. So there were some positives with it. The games ran very well. User interface looked good. There were some options. Not, the most perfect system, but still, you could plug it in and enjoy it. This thing, a lot of people are having a hard time plugging in and enjoying because of these issues. You have no screen options. You have a lackluster set of games. Sure, there's some that are all right. Those PAL games really hurt, in my opinion. It's something that Sony just, I don't know why they did this thing, just a cash grab for the holidays. And every business wants to make money. But if you want to put out another version of this, you've already soured the consumers that bought this the first time and who are really looking forward to it. You make another one, your sales might drop off. It's like with the PSP and the PS Vita. They didn't do extremely well in the US. I think the PSP may have done a lot better. But, those systems were great, but there was that flaw, that proprietary memory that was expensive as shit. And it's like Sony's always doing something. to kind of, isolate their fan base from actually enjoying some unique things they want to do. And this is just another thing with that. Should have they even bothered? Not with the state that it's in, because we have to fix it ourselves. And that is the unfortunate reality of this device. But like I said, there's a lot of hacking going on out there. I'm going to keep you guys informed whenever I mess with certain things. I do have a couple videos coming up pretty soon. We're going to get this thing working. We're going to get it working great. I don't regret my purchase, but I mean, leading up to it, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, especially a few days before launch when we found out these PAL games were on there. But now I'm just repeating myself. It is what it is, guys. Let me know what you think. If you haven't bought one yet, are you still going to get one if the price lowers? Is $75 the sweet spot for you? Is $50 the sweet spot for you? Or are you just going to pass it up altogether and just stick to emulating on a Raspberry Pi or playing on original hardware? There are no right or wrong answers here, guys. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Smash that like button. Make sweet-ass PlayStation love to that notification bell. You know what I'm talking about. Do all that great stuff. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom!